Genesis 46 through 50. Congratulations on finishing another book. Let's review the entire book of Genesis, noting at the end how it affects the story, and put it all together at this point. We remember that early on in Genesis, the early chapters before chapter 12, are world history in general. They don't concern the sin of Adam, I don't think, as much as the will or the desire of humans to worship incorrectly. In fact, that is what's going to be calling then, or the story of God's call to solve misworship, I would call it, by calling Abraham to be the father of a nation that will worship properly. That nation will be called, in time, Israel. So very quickly, of course, what happens is in 15:6, Abraham gives his loyalty to his Creator God, and God responds by calling him righteous. That story continues in his son Isaac. In fact, what you're going to have, of course, is this line, the God or Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's going to be a common way of describing which God we're talking about. So Isaac worships this God. Jacob worships this God. Notice that when we say that, we're also showing by definition that some of the family members of Abraham do not worship the right God, such as Ishmael. We learn in 21 that he worships poorly. We also learn that Esau in chapter 36 worships the gods of other nations. So the story then continues as we get into chapters 37 to 50, as we closed up. We're wondering, how does the story end as we are talking about worship? How does that get solved, if at all? I find very helpful that in 50:17, we're at the very close of the book, the brothers are wanting to be assured that Joseph is really forgiving them for what they've done for 2 decades. They lied about him. And they come up with this line. I mean, I find it fascinating how careful they say this. They say, "Please forgive the sin of the servants of the God of your father." Think about that. They're saying, please forgive not just us, the servants of your father, but the servants of the God of your father. They're identifying with the God that Jacob, their father, worshipped. The next thing we hear, of course, is that Jacob breaks down and cries. And so what I think is happening, and by the way, we have now a 278-year gap between the end of Genesis and the beginning of Exodus, where God is now forming his people. In fact, that'll be the phrase he uses. Moses will say, "Let my people go." These become God's people. Why? Because worship of the correct God has been instituted.